warm round of applause. Just work with me. Thank you, guys. So, ladies, I'm going to ask each of you this same question. And the question is, can you tell us about yourself in 2 minutes? So what do you do? What precious award did you win? And in what year? So first of all, let's go with Camille, please.
Hi. Okay, so I'm Camille. I have 2 businesses. I have an online retail business called Pink Ribbon Lingerie, which sells lingerie, swimwear, sleepwear and sportswear for women who've had breast cancer. My mum is a 25-year breast cancer survivor, and we started the business 9.5 years ago. I won a Precious Award 1 year after starting my business in 2011, and it was called the Hidden Gem Award at the time. So that's what I won my award for. And then the other business that I have is called MCJ Consultancy, which stands for Miss Camille Johnson, and I help product-based businesses to increase their customer retention, their sales and their profit. I have 20 years experience in buying and merchandising and operations management and helping new startup businesses. I think that was less than 2 minutes.
No, it was great. I mean, short, sharp is sometimes to the point. Quick one though, how did it feel when you won the award? So when your name got called, how did you feel?
Okay, so it was unexpected because the category that I was nominated for, I didn't win. So, you know, you're at an awards event and then they call your category and you're like, oh, I didn't win, but it was an amazing event. So I was, you know, enjoying the event. I'm thinking, oh, this is great. So many positive women. And then quite near to the end, they said there was an award for somebody called, for a Hidden Gem Award. And as they were reading it out and who it was going to, I thought it was for somebody else. I literally thought it was for somebody else. And someone on my table says, no, it's for you. And I couldn't believe it. And so that was a real big surprise and really unexpected. But what it really, I think I took from it at the time was that it gave you kind of belief and self-belief. When you first start your business, you do all the hard work and, you know, it's kind of the first time I got recognition. It was the first award I was up for. And it kind of made it feel like all the hard work that you do in the difficult times is really worthwhile. So yeah, it was amazing. And it really helped add more self-belief to myself and for the business was doing the right thing.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Camille. Next up, we're going to go to Kizzy. Kizzy, again, what do you do? What precious award did you win? And in what year? And we're also going to add, and how did you feel winning the award?
And how did I feel, did you say?
Yeah, at the end of that question, we're going to also add, how did you feel to win the award?
Okay, so in a nutshell, I am a partner in a law firm in Holborn, which basically means I manage lots of other lawyers who do lots of work. And I used to practice criminal law a long time ago in a East End legal aid firm. I left there, I went to prosecute for a little while and then landed in a top 10 city law firm specialising in health and safety and regulatory litigation. I was one Black female in a world of thousands of lawyers. And as I progressed up the ranks, I decided that there really wasn't anyone that looked like me. So I wanted to do something about it. I joined lots of initiatives, started lots of initiatives while I was at that particular firm, while trying to climb my way up the ranks to partnership, and found lots of different hurdles along the way, of which I'm sure I will speak about, and maybe others in the group will speak about their own hurdles. But again, I found that at the top of the tree, there wasn't anyone that looked like me, and I made a decision that I was going to leave whilst on maternity leave with my second child, and I then went into partnership in another city law firm where I am doing lots of really good work in the field that I want to practice in, but I'm also helping others join the legal profession who perhaps don't have such a good start in life. That's involved bringing people through who are focused on family and carer responsibilities and have difficulty getting into law, and also dealing with students who want mentors, mentorship schemes, and running some of those things. I won Outstanding Woman in Business, I think, last year after being nominated the year before and being very disappointed. But I was very happy last year, and I felt amazing. It was an amazing night. It was lovely to be in a room full of people who are, you know, as you say, women of colour who are doing some fantastic things, both being nominated and won. Had a great time.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kisby. And Arit, I don't see your face. Arit, are you here?
Yeah, can you not see me?
Yeah. I can see you now.
Oh, okay.
I can see you now. So the question again is, the question,
yes, tell me the question.
you remember?
What do I
question
do?
is, what do you do? So the question is, what do you do? What precious awards did you win, and in what year? And then how did you feel winning the award?
So what do I do? Well, I at my core, I guess, I help people to take ownership of their careers, whether that's through employment, entrepreneurship, or a mixture of both. And I do that in 3 key ways. So I have a recruitment and training company called Diva Apprenticeships. And I always say it's Diva by name and not by nature, unless you owe me money. And we provide recruit and train apprentices in the entertainment sector. So right across film and TV and Universal Music to Warner's to Strictly Come Dancing, and it's purely entertainment. So that's part of what I do. I also am an executive coach, so I do a lot of work with women who are maybe looking to return to the workplace or to be promoted into senior level roles or move from employee into entrepreneurship, as well as working with universities and supporting graduate talent who are new to the workplace. And I have the third part is I have a YouTube channel which is full of resources to help people to, you know, build careers that they can take ownership of. So that's kind of my core work. And then on the other side, I have a property company. So it's a property management and investment. So we offer guaranteed rent to landlords who have properties of between 3 and 5 bedrooms. And we also work with people who've got money to spend, who are looking to invest and get a higher rate of interest than they do in their savings account. So that's what I do. Those are my jobs, if you want. And then what did I win? So I won Entrepreneur of the Year, and the business one, Small Business of the Year, and that was in 2018. Yeah, 2018. And I got the like, I wasn't going to go to the awards because I didn't think I was going to win. And I'd had a really bad day. Like, I'd gone to pitch for a contract with a broadcaster, and I was up against like a company, like one of our competitors, and the guy that I always meet, and like we've always kind of pitching for the same business, and he could sell ice to Eskimos. And I knew when I saw him coming out of the room that I was like, I just didn't think we were going to win, and we didn't win. So I'd had a really bad day, and I just wanted to go home, watch Sex and the City, and eat my weight in peanut M&Ms. So that was going to be my night. I was like, oh, you know, Arit, somebody. So I didn't have any family, any friends, or nothing like that. I was going home anyway, because I think if I was going to go out, I was going to go home and get changed and go. So I went home and I was like, you know what? Somebody actually nominated you and took the time out to nominate you. The least you can do is put on your big panties, put on a black dress, and get to the awards. So that's what I did. And so I was sat on the table. I had no expectations whatsoever. I was just like upset. So, you know, you do your smile. I didn't know anyone on my table. And so, but they were really interesting and fun women, and just reading people's bios. It was so inspiring because I'd never been to the awards before. So that was like my first experience. And I was just like really bowled over by these stories, because I'd been to awards before, but they'd been very much quite corporate. Like, you go up, you thank, you know, all of your clients and yada yada, and then you sell your business kind of thing. But this was all about people coming up and talking about their personal journeys, and you know, and you just felt inspired. So I started like coming out of my moodiness and thinking, oh well, okay, I'm glad at least I'll be inspired. So when they said my name, I was like, oh my gosh, for Entrepreneur of the Year. I had nothing planned to say, so I made a complete tit of myself. And then at the end they do this, it was quite late, and I had a breakfast meeting the next day, and I remember this, and you had to do the photo call. So I was like, oh, they were doing this final award, Entrepreneur of the Year. So I won the Small Business Award. And they were doing all this justing on the stage, like, oh, who could it be? Who could it be? And I'm thinking, can you just say who's going to be? Because I've really got to go, because I had an early start the next day. So, but yeah, when they said my name, there was Suki, her name was actually, she was like, it's you. And yeah, so that was like really, it was really touching, and it just reminded me that, you know, sometimes you gotta get out of your feelings because you never know what's around the corner.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Erin. And actually, you made a really good point that I want to just stress, that so Precious Nights is always made up of panelists of past winners. So as Eric just said, you know, when you go to award ceremony, you have the category, you have the nominees, and then on the night you find out who the winner is. With Precious Nights, it's creating a space for you guys at home right now to find out more about who these winners are, so that you can be inspired. So whether you are already an entrepreneur, whether you're thinking about getting into business, this space allows you just to have a bit of encouragement by hearing the stories of those past winners. So that is the point of Precious Nights, and that is how it's connected to the Precious Awards, just for further clarification. Now, you ladies, you all kind of really nicely wrapped up what you do and how you began. But Ari, I'd like to just quickly know, because I feel like Camille and with Kizzy, their reasons are really, really clear. But for you, what was the trigger that made you start Diva apprenticeships?
I've always wanted to work for myself. I knew that from when I was really young. And I remember saying at a parents' evening with my mum that I wanted to be an international businesswoman. I didn't actually know what that meant, but I felt like I had to have something to say during parents' evening. And my mum, you know, I'm Nigerian, and that would impress her. So that's what I said. But I worked in film and TV, and my daughter was really small at the time. And they are like, when you're on production, which is when you're making a film, the hours are really long. And I couldn't do that, like, as a single mom at the time. So I was just thinking, well, what can I do? So I ended up working on my own, just setting up as a producer, and I'd like have my little film scripts, and I wasn't really making any money. So I was asked if I would run an internship scheme helping people from BME backgrounds get jobs in the film industry. And I'd had the benefit of an excellent film education. I'd gone to a really good film school where I'd done my postgraduate. And having come out of that, it was like people wanted to meet with you just because of the school that you went to, and it had opened up lots of doors for me. So I thought that if I was going to do this internship scheme, because I know there's talent in the community, that's not the issue, then I only wanted to work with the best organizations, so that when this talent came through the company, that in their internships, then they would have what I call like fairy dust effect, that people would want to meet with them because they'd worked at Universal, or they'd worked at Warner Brothers or Film 4 or wherever. And also for me, I wanted to be working with people who would buy my film projects. So I would kind of say, oh, hey, here's some great talent. And P.S., look at my script. So that was kind of my idea behind it. And then as that happened, I really liked kind of matching people to opportunities that they didn't ever think that they would get. And I also like helping people. So I'm a Christian, so I believe everyone's here for a reason, and there's a purpose. So if you are bold enough to say what that is, then if I have an opportunity that I can connect you to, then that's kind of my reasonable service for the breath that I take. So that was kind of how it started, and it just evolved. I ran this internship scheme for about 3 years, and then the funding stopped, and I had like didn't have any income coming in, and someone said, oh, why don't you do apprenticeships, because it's the same as what you do. They lied, it was not. But nevertheless, I always say I was an apprentice in that first year, and just started on that basis with 6 apprentices. 4 of them got a full-time job, and then after that we just started to get referrals and moved from working just in film to working in TV to working in the music industry to being like one of the top 3 apprenticeship providers for entertainment now. So yeah, it's kind of just connects to what I like to do.
Amazing.
Basically. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. And then, ladies, what would you say have been the hurdles along the way? Camille, let's go with you.
So the first hurdle was getting funding, because when I originally had the idea, it was probably about 5 years previous, and every bank manager that I met up with looked at the business plan and said no to Pink Ribbon Lingerie because it was so stock intensive. So 70% of the original loan I was asking for was going to go in stock, and they said women don't need bras. They didn't understand that they needed special bras after breast cancer surgery, and you know, they were all men with the business people, and it was too stock intensive, so it was a big risk. So I kind of just didn't really know what to do, and I carried on with my career, and then I remortgaged my house and started it with my own money. So that was the biggest hurdle, getting people who aren't affected by breast cancer to understand the need for the service. But when you do find people that are affected by it, then they're like, how can we help you? They understand the importance and the need for it. The other thing that is a big hurdle is getting your name out there. Weirdly, it's quite a sensitive subject, so some people don't want it in their face all the time, whereas others want to know all about it. So it's getting that right balance. And hospitals and charities can't be seen to be biased towards one company or another. So, for example, if you wanted to give a percentage of your proceeds to, say, Breast Cancer Care at the time, which is now called Breast Cancer Now, to use their logo, they wanted £25,000. And that's any company, whether you're big or small, and we were tiny. So, you know, so then you don't have the opportunities that other people have to get the exposure, and all you really want to do is help people. So it's still challenging at times. It's still stock intensive. But yeah, so if you know anybody, any guys that is affected by breast cancer, please share our information, because we just want to help people. And that's the reason we set it up. Because, you know, my mum got a lot of help when she had breast cancer and a lot of support, and she said that if she made it through and, you know, survived this, that she wanted to spend the rest of her life helping people. And that's kind of why we, you know, is part of why we do it. We don't make loads of profit. We don't want to be profitable out of, like, make massive profits out of cancer. And that's why I do the other business as well, because that's what brings in the money, and the other one is more a service driven kind of thing that we're passionate about.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And just to say, before I go over to Kissy, that I know some of you have asked for these ladies' social media handles, but if you go onto Precious Online on Instagram or Facebook, all the information is there. Just to quickly say that. Kizzy, hurdles. I'm sure you've had many.
Well, a few. The biggest hurdle is, and it still is a hurdle today, is in my journey and wanting to show that people can get into senior leadership roles was I'm fighting against a male, pale and stale, you know, fraternity, that, and it's still the same. It's not got any better. It's getting easier, but the issues are still there, and you're surrounded by, particularly in law, but probably in business as well, men who are of a certain age, who have their own concepts of what success means, and you're trying to change the narrative. So for me, coming into particularly a city law firm, it's different if you're doing family law or if you're doing crime or housing or something like that. That's all fine. You know, there's lots of people of colour in that area, in that sector, practicing law, and are able to show that you can make a success in that. What I wanted to do was to maybe take a different step up and be more visible in a city environment where we're showing that young black girls or even young black males can succeed in the city. And that seems to be a massive issue, particularly in London, where we're trying to champion the fact that people of colour have just as good, if not better qualifications, just as good social skills, if not better, to be able to succeed in senior leadership roles. So my biggest hurdle was just trying to change what it meant to be successful in law. Now, I joined a top 10 city practice, of which, as I say, there were not very many black females at all in the law firm, let alone in my field, because I specialised very early to do health and safety and regulatory law. And people tend to say, I don't know what that is. Is that personal injury? No, it's not. It is the likes of Grenfell and Alton Towers and that sort of thing. So I kind of defend companies who have fallen foul of the law in some way. They're all obviously all not guilty, but it's that sort of thing where you're trying to specialise in a field where people just don't really know who you are for doing that sort of thing. So I was trying to show I was really good at my job, really good at other things, and I want to pull people up underneath me. And the fact that there weren't that many black people in the firm anyway, to give you an idea of stats, 490 partners in a firm, not a single one black by the time I left. So that was worrying to me. That was worrying. And you have to make a decision. Do you stay in a firm and try and change it within, or do something else? And after about 3 years of waiting for this partnership to materialise, no, go elsewhere, become a partner and show people that you can do it. You don't have to be within the constraints of what the establishment feel success looks like. And I've moved firms, it's fantastic. I'm able to do, so I think a bit like Camille and Arit, I do two jobs. I've got my day job, which is the one that brings in the money, and I know lawyers have a bad press, so I'm not going to go on too much about that. But the other side of it is much more about trying to help students and those that are trying to enter the profession have access to mentorship schemes and have access to work experience, and championing sort of women of colour in law, so hosting things like Women in Law Conference and that sort of thing. So it's getting the face out there and making us much more visible, and trying to show that you should be going for those city apprenticeships and those work experience placements and vacation placements, because that's the way in, and making relationships work for you and doing the whole networking thing. And you know, that to me is much more fulfilling, much more rewarding than just being a lawyer.
Thank you so much. Wow, the Grenfell, not to make you go into it, but the Grenfell case must be really tough.
It's horrible, but I'm on the right side of the law this time, so I would normally be acting for companies as well. We are acting for residents, so I sleep at night. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, that's what I was leading to without the shade.
you know, it's a horrible case, and it's awful, but good things are going to come out of it, I think, eventually. But it's a really interesting time to be involved in that area of law, I think. And there was one other hurdle that I forgot to mention, which is having children, because I found that, and I still find it, a big hurdle to cross. I think when we had our little chat yesterday, you can see my kids running around, you know, God help this COVID-19 era, but trying to work at home successfully, running a full-time business, having 2 children or more at home, having a partner. I've got elderly people that are living with me. It's just crazy. So that is my ongoing hurdle, for which I haven't got an answer. And if anyone on the call today has answers, you know, give me a message over the chat room.
And that's the thing as well, right? The landscape has changed. So, and to the point that you're making, you have to adapt. So we're just gonna continue with you for a minute. How have you adapted? Because you've acknowledged that it's quite difficult. So how have you adapted? And then we'll go to Arit, so she can answer the hurdle. And then while you're there, Arit, also answer how the landscape has changed for you. And then the same thing to Camille. So yeah, please continue, Kizzy.
Okay, so the whole working at home thing isn't really new to me. I've always been working at home. I've always had to do conference calls by video, and a lot of my work is generated by relationships anyway. I much prefer that. The problem is, with everyone being at home, just being in total lockdown, it is really difficult to balance your time. And the whole guilt thing for me comes back, where I'm trying to wake up in the morning at 5 o'clock, do a couple of hours, then the kids are up, then I'm mummy, then I've got to cook, so then I'm mum for the rest of the family, then I've got to have a bit of a social life and then go back to work. And you cannot do everything well. I don't think you're splitting your time. So I'm having to rely on others. I'm having to do something that's quite foreign to me and delegate and say, you know, this is where we're at, and also make time for myself, which is something that I struggle with. And I think if you can get help from people, and don't be ashamed to ask for help, make sure you have regular contact with people via things like, and you know, have calls with people and just make time for your life, and it will work. Never mind. I think if you just got to get that balance right, but it can work. I think you can run any sort of business from home, and clearly what this has taught us is we can all work from home successfully, despite what your employers might say, as long as you make it work for you. And I'm lucky I've got the support of a fantastic partner, and I've got a grandmother who at 92 years old, she can still entertain my 2-year-old. So I'm kind of lucky.
That is brilliant. Thank you so much. And just before we go to Arit, I just wanted to say as well that I think it's beautiful to see a woman who's in your position, or just anyone who's working, and you see the kids in the back. I love it. Or not even the back, the side of you, or you just hear them in the background. I love it. It's not about hiding. Like, this is it. Welcome to my world, and I'm still professional, you know? So, but thank you for sharing that. Arit, let's talk about your hurdles briefly, and then can we talk about how the landscape due to COVID has changed for you?
To pick up, I start with the landscape just to pick up on what Kizzy was saying. And that, so I'm at the other end of motherhood. So my daughter's now, she's graduated, I'm done. Clap for myself. So I'm done. But I was pregnant when I was at university. So in the second week of my first semester of my first year at university, I discovered that I was pregnant with my daughter. And I had just decided I wanted to do something good with my life. So it didn't look like it was the right timing, but it was the perfect timing in retrospect. So she's always been there with me. And the landscape for working mothers has changed massively now. Like when I look back, because she's 23 in June, and I think that the idea, like Katrina, she's got a gorgeous little one on her lap right now. And the idea that you would ever see that, or that it would just not happen, because it's almost like you had to keep your kids a secret. And I know that still in some sectors that is still the same, but there's a lot more flexibility now. But nevertheless, it's still hard. And what worked for me is kind of blocking out the time. So I had set working hours, and then I had mummy hours where it was just me and her, and that was just whether it's just eating, doing the mum stuff. And then if I had to work in the evening, I would only give myself an hour, and then it would be, so I had to become, and as a single mum, so I didn't really have much choice in the sense that I had to become quite structured, and that helped. Don't get me wrong, the guilt was always there. The guilt never goes. She's 23 and I still feel guilty when I don't do stuff. That's just a mum thing forever, I think. But you do have to rely on your network. So your family is beyond your relatives. Sometimes it's the friends that become family became my helpers, and never being afraid to ask for help, never being afraid to say I can't do this, never being afraid to say I'm not coping, never being afraid to just acknowledge where you were at that time. Because I think when I didn't do that, that's when it started to impact me emotionally and mentally, and it just, and it's just not good for you. So I think it's always being able to ask for help. But when it comes to the hurdles, I break them down into two parts. So I think personally and professionally. I think I don't know how many people on the line run a business, or they're, just working for themselves, is that you kind of have an idea, or at least I speak for myself, I have ridiculously high expectations. And you have an idea of your vision, you know where you want to take your business, you know who your clients are, yada, yada, yada. But where you are at does not match what you're seeing and where you want to be. And that journey between where you are at and where you are going, that wonderful thing called process, just it can be difficult. So I think for me, it's been learning to manage that and understand that this is like a process and you have to respect every part of it, because you won't be able to reach and to be able to maintain and hold that vision unless you actually go through the process. So I think that's kind of remaining in the present and not kind of underestimating what's going on in the here and now is kind of been a hurdle, something for me to accept. And from a professional perspective, cash flow is king, man. So making sure that you're paid on time, making sure that I've got 11 people that would need to be paid at the end of every month, and they don't really care. You know, it's like, yeah, I love working for Diva. We love it. But it still needs to be paid on the last Friday of every month. So you've got to carry that. So making sure that, you know, that you're looking at your money and you're being realistic about your service offer and kind of being honest and not afraid to say what you charge, and, you know, being comfortable to walk away if people aren't going to pay you what you're worth. So there's things like that. Also, you know, with apprenticeships, people have a misunderstanding of what they are. They don't realize that you can do apprenticeships right up to MBA level. So sometimes that can be a challenge and sell if you want. It started off when we first started, it was about selling, you know, like people from our community, almost like trying to convince people why to take on people from BME communities. That was a challenge. It was so in that sense, and now it's the apprenticeship side, just getting people to understand the message. But ultimately it's about the money. It's about making sure that, especially in times like this, so all of our business is frozen, so you have to now still be the one keeping up morale, you know, reassuring people, understanding the guidance that's coming through and translating that and all of that. So this season is a challenging season on a personal and professional level, but I thank God that, you know, we haven't had to make anyone redundant and we're able to weather it. But it's a challenge.
Yeah,
it's the stuff they don't tell you about.
And lastly on this question, no, that's why we have you, and it's fantastic. Ever the realist, we love it, and we do appreciate your share. And lastly but not least, Camille, how has this landscape changed for you?
Okay, so I work from home anyway, so it hasn't changed dramatically for me. But what I have changed is understanding the need of my customers. So for my consultancy business, I was in the process of changing from working one-on-one in person with people to working one-to-many, and was in the process of doing an online course. But I understand, you know, people have kids, they're not always available at the same time. So now what I've done is I've changed my course to be a pre-recorded course that you can do any time. You don't have to do it live with me being there. And that's because you've got to have that flexibility for your customer base, because otherwise you're going to lose people. You know, you have to kind of answer all of the concerns and fears and answer all of the kind of problems that your customers could have. So that's what I've done to change the business. I've also written a free PDF about things about, you know, changing from working like when you go to the office to now working at home, and the tips and things that you can do. So if anybody wants that, let me know. And that's kind of, you know, just using the skills that I've learned from working at home, things like having a routine, setting realistic targets. You can't do as much work from home as you can in the office. You know, everybody's not always available. You're not likely to be as productive, I should say. You're going to have distractions, and you should realize that. And also, if you're managing a team, how you manage them, your expectations need to be different. You need to be flexible. What you've got to understand is, from now going forward, when this is all over, people are going to want to work for companies that have treated their staff well, that have had understanding, that have had flexibility. That's how you're going to retain your staff as well. Because if you've been bad to your staff, the moment there's a new job available, they're going to be off and you're going to have problems. So that's what I try to tell people that I'm working with and business owners. And then with Pink Ribbon, I should
Brilliant.
say,
And that's a really good point.
Yeah, with Pink Ribbon, because we basically sell predominantly swimwear from April to October to women who've had breast cancer surgery. They are the high risk customers. You know, they're all the ones on the self-isolation. So our sales have literally dropped. We've bought all of our stock. It was delivered in February. Haven't made any sales for 2.5 weeks. It's really tough. So each week we will be contacting our customers and asking them to either purchase or to buy gift vouchers, because we've got the stock. It's not going anywhere. We just can't get it to you and you can't use it at the moment. And I think once this is over and once we're allowed to travel, because I think that will be a further distance down the road, then people will want to go away. But I think the spa industry is going to do phenomenal, and everyone's going to want to do these little breakaways around the country before we're allowed to fly abroad and stuff. So it's just kind of working out how you can get there. And so we have our stock at a storage unit, so we've worked with them. They've given us a discount during the epidemic, and then hopefully, by doing that and making those changes, we'll still be around.
Fingers crossed, because you're needed and your foresight is incredible. I love your foresight. Just to quickly say, reminder that the NHS clap will be happening at 8. I'm going to give you a 2-minute reminder. I'm still going to be here. I'll be clapping from here. I might even open my window here for y'all if you don't want to go down the stairs and open the door, but we can do it here. Or if you do want to go, it's 1 minute. Please just go and then come back, and then we're going to continue. Also to say, the Q&A is now open. If you do have any questions, please email Jess Malley privately, and then she will feed that over to me, okay? And then the third thing I wanted to say at this point is you can find the panelists' social media handle. If you just go to the Precious Online on, for example, Instagram, you'll see the picture of these ladies talking about, so that's my little warning for you guys. You'll see the picture of these panelists and this event, and their names are underneath it. So just click them and then follow them. And if you do want to speak to Camille Arrett or Kizzy directly, then you at least have their social media handles. I hope that's really clear. So the first question comes from Colette. And she says, hold on. You all have day jobs and then second businesses that help people, or you drive purpose. Do you think it's possible to drive social and positive change in the day job? And if so, how? So I guess what Colette is saying, can you just have one job that is purpose driven, that you love, that is positive for social change? And if so, how do you do it? Let's go with Kizzy. Oh, Camille, you've got your hand up. Camille.
I would definitely say you can have a job that has purpose and that is, has driven. You can have one job that you can do that with, but I would suggest you have more than one stream of income. In times like this, it's really important to have more than one stream of income if you can do it. One of the prime examples, when first got in my career in buying and merchandising, I worked before that career, I worked for the John Lewis Partnership for Waitrose. And what they said is the reason we have a business model that is food and John Lewis is because in times of recession, people still need to eat. When everything's doing well, everybody shops in John Lewis. So, even that company had the foresight to have 2 different anchors. And so that's why it's important, even if you just have a day job, whether it's having like an eBay store or an Amazon store or doing affiliate links, have another stream of income. It's really invaluable. But your day job, you want to do something that sparks joy, that makes you happy, that you look forward to going to. And if you don't have a job like that, change your job if you can.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think my properties, I think everyone should have like a vision for their life, full stop. And I always say that, see yourself as the CEO of Me PLC. So you are in charge of your life, and within your business, your Me PLC, you've got different departments, and one of them is your finances. And so thinking about your financial plan, like when you retire, like for me, what does old lady Arrett want to be doing? She doesn't want to be working by force. So I want to be doing what I want to do, sitting in my rocking chair on the beach. happy knowing that, you know, I'm not worried about money, that money is flowing to me because of decisions that I made yesterday. So the reason I have a property company is people are always going to need somewhere to live. So, and when I have had any challenges, the thing that made the money when I was sleeping was my house. So in that sense, then that is, but again, this is not something that I intend to be some, you know, mogul running things. It's purely, I have a certain amount of income that I want to earn by a certain point of time in my life, and I just look at different ways in which I can achieve that. So yeah, my main job, my core purpose is Diva and everything that I do in that sense. The other thing is more passive income.
Yeah, and I can tag on to what everyone else is saying. I mean, I do have a day job that is pretty all encompassing. So if I didn't love it, something would be wrong. But I do have a day job that allows me to, I think, affect social change, in a sense that even with the day job being mostly reactive, when people only want you when something's gone wrong. So yes, I have that aspect of my job, but also part of my job is very preventative in nature. So I do a lot of training, I do a lot of online preventative reviews and due diligence and that sort of thing. So helping people and businesses understand what the risks are to them. And very much, I mean, that's a softer sell. It's the softer side of the kind of litigation type of work I do. But also it generates money, and it's an easy way in, because again, a lot of my work is around relationships and being visible. And I feel even by doing the softer side of being a lawyer and by giving advice and an advisory nature of my job, it's generating income. You could charge money for giving preventative advice as opposed to waiting for something to go wrong and then they want you. But even saying that, my visibility, I think, is the way in which I will change the way in which people look at lawyers. Because very often people will look at lawyers and think they've got an idea of what you look like and what you should look like. And then I turn up and, you know, black, female, I'm not sure I can count myself as young anymore, but with locks. And this is not your typical city lawyer. So what I've had as feedback from a lot of clients is that, wow, I mean, how did you do it? This is really great. And, you know, and I think just by starting off a conversation, it's nothing to do with the legal problem that they might have, but the fact that they can see you means that it starts the conversation going and makes them think, I could do that. Or I know someone that might want to do that. Can they get in touch with you? And the amount of emails that I get from young people who simply said, I heard you speak at, can I have a chat with you? Can we have a coffee? Would you do work experience? That sort of thing. And I try and answer every single one of them, but I just think it's just a way of spreading the message that, of course, you can do it if I've done it. And somebody said the quote a long time ago, and it stuck with me, where he said, you can't be what you can't see. And to me, you know, unless my face is selling a product, I've become a saleswoman too, you know, unless you're selling your services, I'm selling a brand. I have a professional brand, which is easy to sell, but I also have a personal brand. And that's my story. That's my story. So I think I'm doing something that I really, really love. Not everybody loves it, but I really love my job. And I'm doing something that also can affect social change as well.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. So we've got about 3 more minutes before the NHS clap. But very quickly, I wanted to ask, how do you self-care? And I think I want to begin with you, Kizzy. And so even if it means that I interrupt and stop it at 8, please continue when you come back, and the ladies, please follow. But how do you self-care? Because if you are the first, there's not only a lot of pressure on you to be something for others, there's also an impact to you because you're getting the microaggressions and you can't necessarily see anyone in your workplace who is like you, so you can talk to them. So how do you self-care in an environment that doesn't have other people that look like you?
Short answer, I don't. It's really difficult. You try to. Sometimes I have to go outside of my own environment. So yes, I won't have people that perhaps understand my struggles or understand what I'm going through. There are a few, even in the firm that I'm in, there are a few black people, but as I say, the problem is them being at senior level. There's no problem attracting people of colour into the law at all. The problem is retaining them. and them moving up the ranks in the way that they should. So I tend to go outside of my environment. I speak to there are other Black female partners out there. There aren't many, but there are a few. And we tend to have our own network and we discuss our issues. And to me, that's the way I do it. I have to go outside of my own environment to other groups that I join, even people that I've met through Precious. That's how I kind of do my venting and learn lessons and get some of their experiences and see if I can use what they've gone through to help me. So I think that's the easiest thing to do, is to go out.
Because so many people would have done jobs before, and I'm just like, I'm not getting paid enough to take this. I am out.
Yeah.
So it's a testament to actually how much you love your job to actually stay, and that it can come at a cost if you don't do the self-care that you say that you have to do.
Absolutely.
Which is to go outside of your workspace in order to get that. So I want to say thank you, because it's tough. And guys, we're on a 1 minute warning now. I feel like we should just not talk anymore, because I don't really want to cut anyone else up. So I'm just going to clap you guys for what you've said so far. I'm going to allow you guys to go if you want to go and get ready to open your front doors now. I'm going to open my window, and I'll see you all back at 8:01. We're going to come back at 8:01 on the dot, okay? Go to the bathroom. Go and take a drink. Go and clap for the nurses. 8:01, please. I'm going to open my window. If anyone else is still here, I'm going to just be talking until this 1 minute is over. Let's just open this up and just see if we can hear anything from here.
Thank you.
All right, it's up now.
I'm staying with you.
Oh, yay!
It's 8! Woo! Oh yeah, I can hear it. Hold on 1 second. I'll be right back.
Okay. Oh yeah, I can hear it too. Guys, I'm still here. I'm just going to be here just clapping with whoever's still here. Yeah, I can hear it now. Aww. My boyfriend's downstairs clapping. Okay. Ugh. Everyone's be joining us back shortly. Who's first coming back? It's Kizzy. Jess is back in the room. Let's see where Camille's at.
All right.
Camille is coming back. Kizzy is back. I've got Arit's picture, but she ain't back. She'll be back in a minute. Just a reminder, as I'm waiting for Arit to come back and everyone settle back in, this is the Q&A section. Please send through any questions that you have directly to Jess Malley, and she will send me what you've asked to me directly. And can I just say before we begin, yeah, clapping's good, but can we just pay nurses more, please? Like, they are not low-skilled workers. They are seriously high-skilled workers, and I feel like the treatment is just unacceptable. They need to be paid more than bankers. They need protective gear, proper protective gear. They need proper rotas so they can rest, so that they can self-care. Like, we need this. If we're going to talk about how COVID has changed the landscape, nurses need to be paid more money. That's how we can change the landscape, because this is unacceptable. And what's 1 more minute before I get off my rant? Boris Johnson and the migrants going back to their countries, but because we've got COVID, we are now going to extend their visas. I'm sorry, disgraceful, absolutely
going
disgraceful.
there.
And now I'm back in the room.
That was the Party Political Broadcast by Lisa Brent. Clap for the nurses.
Just so incensed. It's so rude. My mum was a nurse. My mum was a sister for 45 years in the NHS. Like, she is a goat out here. So I know how much they sacrifice, and it's just unacceptable. But we're all here. That was just my passions. Sorry, we're back. Right, the next question. The next question actually comes from Jess. And we're still here. We are still here on a question, aren't we? Sorry, guys. My passion speech is how do you navigate? It's how you navigate, right? How do you navigate? Am I going wrong? Am I going crazy?
No, you're talking about self-care. Kizzy was talking
Okay,
about...
we're going to move it.
It was
Self-care.
self-care.
Thank you. Sorry. My impassioned speech just made me lose myself. Camille, how do you self-care?
So my background's in the beauty industry, so it was really easy to learn about how to self-care. So it's always about, having the face mask on a Sunday and taking the extra time and doing the double cleansing in the evening and the morning and stuff, the single cleanse in the morning and, taking time with your skincare regime and stuff like that. I love burning candles. I love to have a bath at night with the candle on, and I have chill time. I'm really lucky in some sense. So like Arit, I have a grown-up son, not a daughter, who's 21. He's actually not with me. He's at university, and he was going to come home, but he was going to come home, but he got a cough, so he's self-isolating with his flatmates for 14 days. 14 days ends tomorrow, so he's had a few symptoms, but he seems fine now, so touch wood. So it's kind of quiet here. I was expecting him to be back, so I don't have the disruptions of a child or someone who wants to play PlayStation all day, which probably would have been the case. So it's all right. So I don't feel like I need extra self-care. I can just do it and take that break when I want to. But what I have done is not being tough on myself. I know I'm going to have bad days, and I know I'm going to have good days. Sunday was like the dramatic, oh my God, I spent 9 years doing my business. We're not going to cope. It's going to lose, there's no income coming in. And then Monday was like, talk to the people, bring down your bills, push them back, and everything's back okay. So, just understanding that just more so than self-care, just be kind to yourself. How you treat other people, we're really good at being kind to other people, but we're not really good at being kind to ourselves. So I think that's the biggest takeaway I would say, is try and be kind to yourself, however you want.
Yeah, I like that.
Thank you. Arit, thank you, Camille. Arit, how do you self-care?
For me, I have a very structured morning routine. So I've probably been a believer since about 2006. So prayer is so important to me. So I spend a lot of time reading the word in the morning. I kind of like about half an hour spending reading the word. I meditate. I journal and do a lot of reflection. And I try to be intentional about my day. So I'll be intentional about how I want to feel that day, because I believe in kind of command in the morning and taking that control. So before I switch on emails or Instagram or anything like that, it's like putting on your armor is the way that I see it. So I do that. I also maybe listen to a podcast, and I say I would exercise about 4 times a week, but I do that in the morning. My mornings are my sacred time, so that's just for me. Some people it's the evenings, but for me it's like the mornings. So I find that for me it just gets me mentally prepared for the day ahead, and helps me stay anchored, which if I'm honest, I think just observing, because I am an introvert by nature, contrary to what people believe I get my energy.
You are not an introvert.
I like to be, don't get me wrong. I think I had telling me about myself. I like to don't get me wrong. If I'm in a room, I can talk to anyone. I'm not a shy, as they say from the northeast where I'm from. I'm not a shy being. I can talk to anyone. But equally so, I love being at home. So this whole this isolation quarantine thing, I'm living my best life right now because I'm in my house. I actually really like it. I'm not looking forward to the time when they say you can go back to work. I'm like, I got my things set up here right now. I'm good, thank you very much. But yeah, I like that. And when I reflect on how I've reacted to the situation right now, I think it makes me feel kind of good that I feel that I'm rooted beyond what the circumstances, what's going on in the outside. Nevertheless, I think I echo what Camille says, and you have to be kind to yourself. So that's the thing that I work on a lot, is just managing your own expectations about what you're capable of doing as a human being, and being realistic about what you can achieve in any given day, and just accepting where you are. So that's something that I work on all the time, so that when you have the lows, and everyone has the lows, but it's about kind of coming back to them with a little bit more strength and a little bit more resilience, because you've given yourself the opportunity to have the lows. So it's just going with that ebb and flow of emotion, but accepting that that's perfectly natural and normal. But I think, yeah, definitely a morning routine.
Brilliant, thank you. I don't know, I'm just going to say it just because we're all in this self-isolation situation, that I guess for some people there is a need to still do stuff. And actually, this is like one big massive reset button. So if people have never massively, people as a mass of people have never been forced to like do nothing, stay at home. There's no shops open. Even at Christmas, everything is always open. So this is like a massive reset. And although it's really traumatic, because we've seen lots of people in the news, we've heard lots of people, have sadly passed away. I mean, this is unprecedented. Everyone is at home, and I guess it's about what do you do with that time. And it's a great opportunity to self-reflect and acknowledge what you've been doing, what hasn't been working. Do you want to still be doing that when we open up and hopefully businesses, all up and running again? Like, it's just a great time to reflect. And yeah, I just wanted to say that. And so within the time, if there is anyone who's watching this online Precious Nights talk at the moment, if you are feeling like you should be pressured to like do stuff, then maybe you don't need to do anything. Maybe you just need to just show up online to work with your PJs as your bottoms, do what you've got to do with work, do the bare minimum, and just keep it moving. Rest, like literally rest, because I tell you something, I do feel that once things do get moving again, it's people just going to revert straight back to the panic, and who wants that? So anyway, just thought I'd add that. Let's go to a question from Jess. Go on, Eric.
Yeah, on the back of do the bare minimum. If you're at work or you're in a job where you're feeling that you just want to do the bare minimum because you can't be asked, then ask yourself the question, why do I want to just be doing the bare minimum in a job that I can't be asked about? Because that might be your trigger. And because I'm like you, this is the best opportunity. Never in your life. Most people are being paid to stay at home. Yeah, you're being furloughed. Don't get upset about it. You're being paid to sit down. And if you're unhappy, then begin to ask yourself why you're unhappy, and get real with yourself so that you have the opportunity to start crafting a life that's a little bit different. There's so many people offering free online training. You've got so much access to content in a way that you may never have again. So in that sense, ask the question, I'm just rocking up to sit here because I have to. If that's how you're feeling, why do you feel like you have to do that?
Yeah, good point. Good point.
I would also add that I had to tell someone off the other day, like I was a mother, because they were literally working, exhausting themselves. And I said, you can't be expected to do your normal job with 2 kids at home. You're, getting up at 5, going to bed at 3, you're going to get sick. And the one thing you don't want to do is get yourself sick. You need to stay well and boost your immune system and keep healthy. So, just be realistic. The most important thing is your health. And, for those of you that have kids and they might be driving you a bit crazy, this is the only time in life you are likely to get this amount of time with them, except for when you're on maternity leave, in their whole life. And, you know, they grow up really quick, so appreciate that time.
Camille, come and speak to our managing partner. I think he needs a bit of...
I don't mind, I can do that.
It's chargeable hours, you know, get your teams meeting those targets. It's you know, it's unrealistic. It's completely unrealistic. And I think I'm taking on board Camille's view. With my first daughter, I was working every hour God said, and I was doing 14-hour days as soon as I went back to work. Right now, I'm as much as I'm still doing like getting up at 5 o'clock, I'm trying my best to enjoy the fact that I'm at home with my family.
Yes.
And I get to spend time with them. I am shouting at my kids, but I'm spending time with them, and I am enjoying that.
I love you.
And just the point,
I could kill you. Especially my 10-year-old. My 2-year-old, no, he's a boy. He's fantastic. My 10-year-old girl. Anyway, leave that for another Zoom session.
You're so funny, because the point Eric made, I think it also has a bit of what Camille was saying. So it's a great time to ask yourself, why are you doing a bare minimum? But then to Camille's point, you also can't work even at the same pace you were working before, or even more, because we don't need to do that. I think there's a lot of people who are working from home, and they are trying to show that they are working from home and doing more than. And the point I'm trying to make is the point in between both what you're saying is trying to do the bare minimum, because working from home doesn't look like working from work. There's no commute, there's no travel, there's no interruptions from your workmates, there's no water cooler gossip area. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just looks different. So I'm just saying, to adapt, this is the time to adapt, to acknowledge, to reflect, and literally just carve it out in a different way. You don't change. So we've got a question. The question is from Akua. What changes will they miss now that we have gone through the global retreat? So this is after all of this is gone and we're back to normal. What changes will you make in your life moving forward? Let's go with Camille.
So I'm going to go back to going on holiday a lot. That's really important. It's been a year and 2 months since I've left the country, and it's very difficult. I'm a person that goes away like 4 times a year, so I'm going to jump straight back on there as soon as it's safe to do. And I think that's really important when you work for yourself. You work. Pardon?
You've got the world map behind you.
Yeah, and lots of pins in there. But yeah, so I really think it's important when you work for yourself that, you know, you tend to work even harder than when you work for somebody. And so you need to take that time out. And this is a time when a lot of self-employed people are really feeling the struggle. So when you can afford to, you know, take a break, whether it's a weekend away or something like that, it's important. Business-wise, I am making a lot of the things I do evergreen content, so I don't have to, you know, be there for every online course. So people can do it at their own time, which means, you know, you're there for all different time zones. So I'm probably going to extend the reach for the people that I work with to different time zones, whereas before I kind of just focused on UK and US time zones by having the evergreen content. The other thing that with Pink Ribbon Lingerie, there isn't really much I can do differently except for sell more. And I'm using this time now to grow our mailing list, grow our reach, being informative, give hints and tips so that we'll have a bigger audience once this is over. Yeah, I think nobody knows how it's going to end. I don't think it's going to be one day everything goes back to normal. I think it's going to be a slow, gradual process to people that, you know, that have had it can probably go back to work and stuff like that, and people that haven't had it or are high risk will probably be confined a bit longer. And it's just playing things by ear, and just know that, you know, whether it's another 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 months, just be, you know, try and think forward and think ahead and plan ahead as much as you can, because, you know, my customer base, what for what I do, which is helping brands get stocked in retail stores, that's one of the main things I do. As soon as this is over and the retail stores open, there are going to be massive opportunities for my customer base, because there's lots of brands that will not make it through this, and they will, you know, their brands will either be pulled from the shelves or they're going to be marked down, and there's opportunities for you to get into a retailer a lot quicker than previously. So it's making sure that I'm, you know, explaining that to my audience and to the customer base so that people are ready, because if you aren't ready, you're going to miss your opportunity.
Yes. Brilliant point. Thank you so much. Easy.
Hang on. Am I on? I'm on. From a personal point of view, I think I am going to take on board the whole self-care issue. I struggle with it, as I pretty much said, and I am not very good at having time. So what this period has taught me is that I do need to take more time out for myself and slow down a little bit, because it will affect my own health. So I will change, hopefully, or at least adapt the way in which I have my downtime, and make sure I do have the downtime. Professionally, I'm going to work from home more. I do it anyway, but there's two things I want to do with it. I want to do it more, but I also want to make it more of a norm. And that was my issue at my last firm. You had to ask to have flexible working. You had to request it, and it had to be approved by your line manager. What I want to do is to make this more of a norm thing. So it's not a request. It's not, you need to come to me and say, can I work from home? I do want it to be just a normal thing. And if on one day you wake up and you think, right, a member of the team wants to work from home, they work from home. In terms of accountability, we can see your figures, we can see what you're doing, everything's pretty transparent. I'm not worried about whether my team work at home or they're in the office. For me, I work better in the office for some things, I work better at home for others. Why can't the rest of the team do the same? So I think I'm going to work a bit more at home to show the rest of the team that they can also do the same. So I think in working patterns, that will be slightly different once this all blows over.
Love it, thank you. And
I'm not sure yet, if I'm honest, because I haven't taken the time out to think about it. The last couple of weeks for us have been really busy, trying to just in response to what's happening, because obviously it has an impact on our business. So all of our recruitment is ground to a halt. So we've had to, and all of our training that we deliver, most of it was online anyways, that wasn't so much of an issue, but we've had to develop some materials to do our interactive workshops with our apprentices online. So it's kind of been all hands on deck, making that move and making sure that we can weather the storm and be in a position to be still functioning as a business at the end of that time. So that's kind of been my focus for the last couple of weeks. I think probably next week I'm going to start to slow down a bit, because most things are in the works. So when I say slow down, is I can start to think more kind of what we're going to be doing next, how we're going to do things differently. But at this stage, it's not something that I've spent much time on thinking. But I know that whatever I do has to be connected to who I am and what I'm here for. And I think when you're open to that, opportunities come, and you just have to be able to roll with them. I'm going to probably do from next week some free sessions with people who who have been made unemployed during this period, and kind of use my gift in that sense to be able to help them plan their next move. So that might just be free, kind of online 30-minute, where am I at, where do I want to be, kind of coaching sessions that I'll do, and possibly supporting those whose businesses have been impacted far more than mine have, because there's some people in my network whose businesses have gone to the ground, which is, for an entrepreneur who spent building something, to have lost that, it can be soul destroying. So having those kind of conversations. And next week we start promoting women in our in my network to my client base, which is full of learning and development managers, talent managers. So I'm starting to profile some of them. But that's just me just trying to give my little bit back, give a little bit back. But yeah, in terms of like the grand plan post this season, I haven't thought about that in any grand detail.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you so much. Really good answers, everyone. So look, the time now is 2022. Unfortunately, this is not like the British Library, because if we were at the British Library, this time wouldn't make any difference, because we normally always get kicked out at like 9:30. They're so good to us. But we're going to try and be on time here online today, because we ain't got no other excuses. So I'm going to ask you one more question, and I'd like you to just be as to the point as possible. The question is, what is the best piece of advice that you've ever received that you'd like to pass on? So think about that for a minute. And then when we end, just so you guys all like know from now, we end, we're going to head over to Precious Online on Facebook, so that if you have asked a question that you really, really would love to be answered, please go over to Precious Online on Facebook. We'll be there for maybe 15 minutes or so, because I'm sure you guys are hungry and want dinner, because them snacks ain't going to do nothing for you. We can just get those questions answered for you, okay? So, oh, and we need to top up with drink. Okay, Jess. You're running low on alcohol now. Okay, cool. So just to recap, the question is, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received that you'd like to pass on? The people watching at home, if you have a question, because this is the last question, if you have another question that you would really love these ladies to answer, please make sure that after this, you're going to go on to Precious on Ask the Question there. Okay, it's going to be, yes, we're going to do that. And then we'll also post the social media handles of these panelists as well, so that you can find them and ask them amazing questions too. I'm going to stop talking now. So, Kizzy, what's the best piece of advice that you've ever received that you'd like to pass on to our viewers?
No matter what you do, no matter where you are, be your true, authentic self.
Love it. Can we get everyone? Is that good? Let's all clap. Yeah, love it. I know we can't hear you, but
exactly. Silent clap.
Love it. Thank you.
Round of applause.
Arit, what's your best piece of advice
Best
that
piece
you'd
of
like
advice.
to pass on?
Best piece of advice is move before you're ready. You don't need to have all your ducks lined up, and it doesn't need to look like you think it needs to look. Just move before you're ready.
Love it. Thank you very much. And Camille?
I would say that it was good is good enough. You know, don't be a perfectionist. Just put it out there. Start. You can only get better if you start. So good is good enough.
I love that. Thank you so much. Ladies, as I'm wrapping up and I'm doing this little talk, I think just while everyone is here online, can you just please go into the chat, speak to everyone, and literally just drop in your social media handles? We may as well just drop it in there, just so that everyone online here can just see where they can find you. As I said, it's also on Instagram, but ladies, if you wouldn't mind, that'd be really great right now as I finish up. So guys, thank you so much for joining us. It's really, really appreciated. This has been our very first ever Precious Nights Online, and I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had some gems that you can take away and feel positive about wherever you are at, whether you are already an entrepreneur, whether you're just starting out, or whether you are thinking about it. Like, this is the safe space. When we do get out of self-isolation, it'll be great if you could also join us at the British Library. But until then, we are going to be here on the first Thursday of every month. If you haven't already followed Precious Online, I'm going to say it again, please follow us, because you're going to get all the news that we're doing, because we're doing some great things at the moment. Again, we are also moving with the times. So if you sign up to our newsletter, you'll hear about everything. But also, if you follow us on Instagram, you could be part of our Precious Coffee Break, which takes place 3 to 3:30 every single weekday via Zoom. The link is always available around about 2:50 on the Instagram account and also on the Precious Online website. And it's just a great place for you to have your little coffee break, chit chat to really cool, like-minded people before you get back to doing the rest of your work until the end of that day. Our founder of Precious, who I mentioned earlier, who is called Fuluke Akinlu's MBE. She hates when I say that, but I know how people work hard to get that MBE, so I always say it. She's going to be sharing her story about why she set Precious up next week, Thursday. It's going to be on, I think it's going to be Precious Online on Instagram. So again, another reason why you need to follow Precious Online, just so you can see her, and I'm sure she's going to be releasing those gems. She's absolutely incredible. She is, I always say it, and she always cringes, but I don't care. Like, she is the woman that people underestimate because she looks shy, she looks quiet. But I tell you, this woman is a storm. She is fierce and she's an incredible trailblazer. And she is the one who has set up Precious. I'm literally just the face. I just rock up, do my job and go home. This is the woman who's working behind the scenes, making all of this happen for you guys and for everyone, so you're inspired. And lastly, that's it. Look, if you want to continue, please head over to the Precious Online and literally just chat to each other, or you can join us on the Precious Coffee Break. We want to know about you too. As much as you're here to understand and to learn about our panelists who are incredible as their former Precious Award winners, we also want to know who is in our community. Okay, so when you go over who you are, what do you do, give your social media handles, you follow us, we'll follow you straight back. And guys, that is it. My name is Lisa Bent. You can follow me on Instagram. Lisa. I am Lisa Bent. Thank you, Sweeney. Thank you. I hope you all enjoyed it. Of course, we are always open to feedback. So guys at home, again, drop us some feedback in Instagram, or again, last reminder, because I've got 1 minute left. Last reminder, if you are a writer or you feel you can contribute to Precious in some way, especially within this online platform, please email info@preciousonline.co.uk. Please do that. And look, it's 8:30. I'm not on Black people's time. I'm going to end on time. So you can just fill up.
Thank you.
One more time. Thank you, panelists. You've been great.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Oh. I'm trying to come out of this.
You can't.
Wait.
You can't, Bobby.
Leave me.
Come on, let's go.